Hello, this is Ralph. Hopefully you're all well. As we do in the past, I have 12:01. We're going to wait a couple minutes just to let others join because of waiting for teams and other things to start. So just stay patient for a minute or so, and then we're going to get started. Hello, this is Ralph again. We're going to let everyone have about 30 seconds, and then we will get started. We appreciate those who joined on time, and we want to make best use of everyone's time. But again, some cases, the first time you go into GoToMeeting, it takes a little bit. So in my mind, I'm doing a 10-second countdown. And we're going to get started. First of all, we appreciate you joining. Second, as you know, these are recorded, and you'll get some follow-up information, and you'll get a copy of the recording. We're very pleased and happy to have this session as it relates to product quality, longevity, stability testing, because it is an area of importance to a number of our clients, particularly those who use process manufacturing. So I think you know that Acumatica is a process manufacturing solution dealing with food companies, chemical companies, those types of individuals that we wrote and is the Acumatica process manufacturing solution. And we have a quality solution that we're going to talk about today, and it works with both the Acumatica process as well as the discrete system. The features that we're going to talk about today can be used if you're just using standard Acumatica manufacturing. I would just say from our view, though, very seldom do we see people in discrete industries using samples, but again, we'll describe what we're going to do. So we are going to spend a little bit of time just talking through stability and quality control and give an overview, and then what we're going to do to talk through what we're doing related to planning and executing and monitoring, how this affects various industries, scenarios. We're going to step through the product and then wrap up. We typically have these for about 45 minutes or so, and today I think we're going to get through in about 30. So that's Ralph, that's me. Many of you know me, and I have a face made for radio. So the idea of stability, quality control, that it's important in many industries that they make a product, and then over a period of time, they need to make certain that it is performing, it's reacting, it's in this state that it was when it was manufactured. Think of bread spoiling. So it is designed to do that. We're going to talk a little bit about samples, but people retain samples, and then periodically they might test those. It's very widely used in pharma, food, cosmetics, chemical. Again, generally process industries, even chemicals, could be paint, etc., right? Or adhesives that over a few years are going to begin to degrade. Why do we do this? Because again, the shelf life, how quickly it's going to degrade, and in some cases, compliance. right? You have some labor requirements, you indicate how the product's going to perform, and you indicate that it's going to perform like that for 2 years, 3 years, X number of dates. And it also begins to provide feedback as it relates to expiration dates, how someone should store it, etc. So what we did within the Acumatica framework, within the QMS framework, we have automated the ability to define the intervals that you're going to be doing this stability testing, as we call it. It ensures that products meet the specification, and in many cases, they're regulatory conditions that people need to begin to demonstrate to third parties that yes, in 6 months, it's still the same. And clearly they have their own internal standards. It provides the basis to document what I want to do, schedule it. So when do I need to do it? And then it does track the results in history, much like we do with all of the other QC things that we do. It helps safeguard a product, and maybe I'm going to say the corporate integrity, that products are going well. It allows the entity on a proactive basis to verify shelf life and other performance. And I think it does build confidence like quality and other things do in terms of the reliability, the safety, and compliancy of a product. Stability testing crosses a number of different industries. Again, most of this slide, I would say all of this presentation is based upon these types of industries where we very much focus in on because of process manufacturing. That said, we know that there are some people that have simple food and beverage processes, more kitting, same thing with cosmetics, fertilizer. So there are people that do need this stability testing, and even though this is very much focused on process, it does support the core Acumatica application. So again, if there's a beverage company that's using standard Acumatica without process manufacturing, it would work. These are all the reasons that people do this. Pharmaceuticals need to define and demonstrate the effectiveness of a product through its expiration date. Food companies want to maintain storage and nutrition values. Personal care, many cases it's just texture and fragrance and safety. Chemicals relates to does the product still actually perform? So again, a number of different industries, but this is why we've created this stability solution. And I'm going to take a step back now as we talk about this real life scenario and describe what we've seen before we actually talk through this. You see a number of different companies that will make a production run, and they'll make 100 and they will set 1 aside or 10 aside. And there are processes within Acumatica and inventory and how QMS works that say I'm able to take that item and I'm going to put it in a retention location. So now there's control of, we have that sample, it's sitting there and we're controlling it just like we do with inventory. It could go into a different warehouse, a different bin, so that the valuation includes it or excludes it, however you wish. Then there's really 2 things that people do with sampling. One of them, the sample is just there, and for some companies it's just there because they're waiting for someone to call, and if someone complains, they run out into the sample area, they bring the sample out and then begin to look at it. In that scenario, you are probably just going to use the standard ad hoc testing capability that exists within the product. I'm just going to test it. This is situations where someone wants to be proactively monitoring that. So not only am I retaining it, but again, in a certain period of days, I want to be informed that I need to go and test that product. So the real life scenario is we make some pharmaceutical items, we send some bills, and we put those aside, and we decide that we want that bottle to be tested monthly. And they want to track all the information around that particular item. And I'm going to add that maybe they do it monthly, yearly, in every 6 months. So again, the scenario is we have these sitting on inventory, and just like we test this item when it's being made, when it's finished and put in inventory, we want to retest it to validate that the product is still good. So when I meet partners and end users, they always joke that I have somewhat the same routine. So now I need to do the most troublesome part of this for me, which is to make certain that I go into the right screen and people can now see an Acumatica screen. And people say I repeat myself in terms of that's my fear. They're not going to hear me, or I'm going to be looking at a screen and I forgot to share it. I got a thumbs up from one of our team that says, yep, Ralph, I'm looking at the right screen. So where does this start? It starts with a new menu choice called Stability Planning. And this, for every inventory ID, we could begin to go in and indicate what are we going to do on a proactive basis. We set up the frequency of this. So this is saying that, you know, what we want to do is that based upon the production date, and there's going to be some setups coming along, whether it's what date we're using, but today it's the production date. And this is just saying that one day after the production date, we want to just test this item. And we want to verify that the pH is still good and the solvents are still there, right? Typical Acumatica, we have a value test, and I believe this test is just Boolean. Then what we do is we say we also, every month, want to go in and also take that item off the shelf and inspect it. Well, you could see that this is 3, right? So we're saying that this is not really monthly. This is every 3 months. We're going to get alerted to find that particular lot number, which is a key. This is being done on a sample that has a unique lot number or serial number attached to it. And what we're saying is we want this to be done 6 times. So it's 6 times 12. So we're going to be doing on a 3-year basis. The reoccurring just means I want to continue to do it over and over again. Execution limit says how many times I'm going to do it, and then when I want to do it. And again, the drop down does deal with what we've seen. Not many people do it daily, but there are some customers that have something that's on hold. They issue it in 2 days later. So again, all of the options are there. I could do it based upon days, weeks, months, or years. A plan here is no different than a typical QC plan, the way that you've created it. So what I've done for this item is I've said I want to be informed when a lot number is 1 day old, as well as I want to be known that this item I want to be informed when it's a month old. And well, 3 months old, and I want to do every 3 months. Now, again, maybe what you do here is you put 6, right? You monthly, yearly, however you might define that. The rest of this, again, is core quality, right? It's a quality plan. Is my status active? And what are the results for, again, the way that we use ALQ? Important flag here as it relates to where we're headed and beginning to do more refinements with this is whether this is automatic or manual. So if this is just set up automatic, the system's going to be looking at what is in the sample area and proactively saying, here are the samples that need to be educated, or I said looked at. You could set something up as manual. What the manual is going to end up becoming when we do a few more generic inquiries is this is for customers, was built for customers that have a very formal process of going in there and wanting to check some samples. The other use case as it relates to manual is that there are some entities that retain samples, but they're really retaining samples for the second question that I raised, which is I just want it because Ralph calls and complains. But they also might just have items in the warehouse that are stored out there. So part of the manual and part of what we're doing is it relates to a generic inquiry is this is very focused initially on its initial release to deal with those sample little jars that are being hidden someplace. The capability exists now, though, that we do have a few users that whether they retain samples or not, what they want to do is if this chemical, if a lot's been sitting in the warehouse for more than 30 days, they want to be aware of and they want to retest it. So I'm just going to go back into the inventory file for everyone that is familiar with QMS. This is not a QMS item, quality item, I don't think. I'm just selecting one. But what I just want to indicate that if you are working with our system, we now have this retesting capability. Some of our clients use this today to deal with stability testing. Again, this is more formal in terms of what we're creating to proactively do it. And if you're using this, contact your partner or us, because over the next release or two, Acumatica's term, right, is deprecate. We might eliminate this functionality because the focus of, again, the quality management piece is to be able to define different tests at different types and, again, trigger those events. And this is another one that just indicated that there's going to be days, weeks, months, years. So that's just a setup of how the process works. Now what happens is that you do have the capability to generate stability orders. So this is going to be looking at all of the stability orders that are out there. Notice the automatic ones are done out there, but this is where I could say, you know what, I want to generate manually some orders for a variety of reasons. People might want to manually create those. The other piece is that you're able just to look at a generic inquiry and begin to see what was created when. You can see the number of days the items, the lot number, again, I should say, that is there. So again, there's processes in place that we would first of all go in and you would set up the stability plans. Again, by maybe different levels, different dates, different times. Again, the testing might be different the first month versus at the end of the year. You then have the capability to generate those that are done manually, and you could go up into the this process to actually look at upcoming stability orders. Like everything in Acumatica, quality, the normal quality screen that people are used to, you could use this screen to also see all of those that have been generated and work off that screen. So again, you now have a couple options of going to the normal place or a couple specific areas. In terms of dashboards, and you know, we talk with people that we create dashboards that are hopefully helpful and useful to everyone, but the fact of the matter is that dashboards are personalized. So we create dashboards with the information that we think is needed. In some cases, we create a dashboard with everything everyone ever wanted to see, and therefore it's kind of useless to everyone. But we're letting you know what's pending, what stability orders are out there, which ones are past due, which ones are coming up. And again, you could link to these. We could see overdue orders and what their dates are. I'm just going to drill into one of these, And for training purposes, there is no retraining really, right? Because this is just a standard QC order that now someone could begin to go into and enter the actual value and indicate, oh, clicked at the wrong place. I'm just going to go into this QC order, standard QC order. So again, this is just built upon the technology that everyone else knows. And I'm just going to process this, and still a 3-step process that you will use to do a QC order. You will first of all enter in the results, you'll evaluate the results, and then you'll post the results. Now, posting in this case, think of those when you do in-process inspection. Posting is just that final step of approval. It does nothing else, because we're doing this and we're assuming that lot is staying in that particular location in that samples warehouse. So again, people know that when we want to create an inventory transaction, posting leads us to the Acumatica, for lack of a better term, transfer screen that I then move it around. But again, this is designed for, I have that warehouse, I have it set aside. So that's how you would post it. Could still print all the different labels, etc. And then when we are looking at these items, and this is item API, if I go into inventory, and I look for API, the data is housed in the same table where we house everything else as it relates to QC order history. So at this level, you will just know all the times it was tested, and you would know the types of tests that are being done in this stability. Clearly, our clients begin to create generic inquiries that when I go into the screen are telling me what stability results were versus incoming, etc. Also means that since this record is separate as it relates to quality information, you are able just to begin to track and do analytics on what were the test values, what's the result, what are the trending results of how we're producing this when we make it. Now that we have stability testing, someone could begin to begin to chart the fact that, in month 1 it was 3.5, it goes down to 3.2, etc. So you could begin to monitor that. So that's the focus of creating different test plans for an item, and then how you could begin to record and trace that. Outside of this, it came up in a meeting a day or two ago. We have released within Acumatica the capability to do lot control based upon the status of the lot, not a location, which relates a little bit to some of the things that happen with stability and other measures. The important piece of that release was that today, or I should say last Friday, in Acumatica, the only choice to quarantine something was to move it into a bin, which in Acumatica you would have indicated you can't sell, can't use, can't move. But the reality for many of our clients, a pallet comes in and it goes anywhere in the warehouse. So they had to have different bins, right? A good bin, a bad bin. Now you could store an item in every bin, and we will flag that item as being on hold. And then as you move through the Acumatica processes as it relates to approving that batch, you no longer have to move it between locations. We'll just take that hold flag off. It did come up in a conversation is that the two things that solution now does not do out of the box, and I should have kept my Acumatica screen open, but those of you here who will know Acumatica, the bottom part of the order entry screen indicates what's on hand and what's available. You could create a new query on that to include what's available based upon the flag that's set up on the lot. But again, that's a standard Acumatica calculation that appears at the bottom of the screen. So it's still, unless if it's in a bin that's available, it's going to see it there. So there's some work to be done to change that generic inquiry. The other piece is from an MRP aspect. You know that Acumatica could make a bin non-nettable. That's an Acumatica process, so MRP won't pick up those items that are on hold. That has not been a major issue for our customers because typically when something comes in, while it's in quarantine, regardless of where it is in the warehouse, most people will want MRP, assuming that that item's in and assume that it's going to be approved. So MRP needs to see it. Then what our clients typically do is if something were to fail, then they actually move it to a defined quarantine location that you can make non-nettable. So again, I wanted to get into a couple things as it relates to some generic items in terms of the product itself. Our focus here is to do a few things related to what our customers are beginning to do. And that is we want to, as early as define, gee whiz, something is failing. There's some, in some cases, some regulatory compliance issues that force people to retain those samples and to test them on a periodic basis. Improves product reliability and safety. It improves testing in terms of customer loyalty. This is now automated, gone all the days of worrying about did I actually run that report? Did I look at that report, etc. And then finally, it helps people begin to validate short shelf life, etc. I'm going to open it up to questions. The first question that I was actually going to answer before it came in is that when is this available? It's going to be available in an early release fashion. Now with 25R1, it's officially going to be released and embedded in 25R2. People know how we handle those releases. And what does it cost? The answer is nothing, if I could use that term. And if people were looking at me, I just put in air quotes. And that is, this is just basic functionality that we are adding to the quality module. So if you own quality management for distribution, if you own quality management for manufacturing, this is just going to be added, right? We need to continue as Acumatica does. People pay maintenance every year, right? That maintenance is to help do generic improvements. It's to make certain we support the product, but we are committed, as is Acumatica, that in every one of these releases, put something in there as value so people could see they are paying us on an annual basis and we are providing them some value on an annual basis. So there's no additional charge for this particular application within the core QMS module. Another question was, do I need process manufacturing for this? Again, the answer is no. It will work for any version of Acumatica you have, whether it's discrete, whether it's process, or if you're just a distribution user and you're distributing drugs or some type of chemicals, it will work in any of those scenarios. It is not for just process manufacturing. And again, it's included in those base offerings for that. Yes, someone just asked the question. Yes, over a period of time, our focus will likely be to deprecate as Acumatica says, remove from the screen that retest capability within the inventory module. We know the customers that are using that. We're going to follow up with them, and clearly we're not going to take anything away from a customer, but I think we will probably find out that what is in the stability testing capability of Acumatica is going to be the replace that retesting, but we'll just see. It's not going to happen right away. Maybe we find some unique reasons why someone is using that feature that's not addressed by stability testing. I know this is being recorded. My view is if we can't get someone off of that retesting capability, there's a high likelihood it means there should be an enhancement to what we're doing with stability testing to meet that need. So we'll again just begin to see what happens. How could I get more information for this? It is available. Contact your partner, contact us. I mentioned availability. Question related to item classes. As people know, oh, and it doesn't do any good that I'm not clicking in Acumatica, but as people know, a lot of QMS does reside or allows you to maintain things at an item class level. And I'm just going to reshare my screen again. Going to change screens if I can. I don't know what happened. I can't reshare my screen, but people know that we use the classification to begin to denote quality control, inspection, certifications. We have not put the capability of doing stability testing at an item class level. At least since we've been talking about this, we have not heard a customer talk about doing it there. And generally, stability testing is fairly specific to an item and what you're testing. So if there's any users that are doing this in mass, you should talk to us. And for maintenance and other control purposes, if there's ways that maybe this should be done at an item class level to redistribute, populate, so to speak, quality control plans to individual items, we'll look at that. But that has not come up in terms of the discussions that we've had so far. Yes, there's a question with regards to how do we segregate these. It is in the setup of QMS, a different numbering scheme. So there's a different number of different ways to handle that in terms of knowing whether it's a stability, whether it's a normal order. A question with regards to quality. I need to double check this one, but as people know, we are doing score carding. We're doing some analysis for vendors as it relates to how they are doing from a variety of aspects: on-time delivery, fulfillment rate, but one of those is quality. Those analytics that we're doing are not affected at all by this stability testing. I guess maybe the question relates to, I sold you something and you're doing stability testing and in 3 months it failed. That's really my failure, but no, I would say we have not discussed, we have not heard any feedback about stability testing clearly there's analytics to begin to understand how an item's performing so that you could change your practices, but the ability to try to link it back and later penalize a vendor for providing you a product that fails 60 days, that's um, that will be a one-off. That's not something that we have generically heard about. Other questions? I see no other questions. We generally try to get these done in 45 minutes, and we always like to give some people back in their time in a day. First of all, we appreciate you for attending. We appreciate the support that you provide by using and selling our products. And hopefully you could see that again, there's some people that have come to us and say, those items in the warehouse, we just need to be reminded that they're old and we need to retest those. Again, the core functionality of what we're doing with stability testing is going to solve that need. More importantly is if you're dealing with some of those areas that we mentioned, people will talk to you about, I retain samples. And some people will say, I need to take those samples and proactively retest those. So it's pretty common in food, pretty common in pharmaceuticals and some chemical companies. And now, again, that solution is automated within Acumatica when you use Core QMS. And for those users who are now using Acumatica, there's value added to the product. We'll have to talk about whether this is of value to you in particular, but we're going to continue to try to build on the product. Another example of what was released in 25 R2. It's in early release now, is the whole aspect of being able to control lots based upon a status code versus transactions. Those are all the things that we're trying to do to improve our product, and you demonstrate your long-term commitment to us. We want to demonstrate the long-term commitment to you to continue to add features and not say every new feature is a new module. So with that, I'm just going to sign off. We appreciate the time. Everyone have a great day. Everyone be safe. Bye-bye.